Hey everybody, this is Sarah Spencer with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and this is Know Your Yellow Jackets. I am joined by our Georgia Tech beat writer, Ken Sugiura. Ken, a tough loss for the Yellow Jackets against Miami. That was a game they were favored. I think that disappointment is really fresh in a lot of fans' mind. If you're Georgia Tech, do you try to infuse some energy and give UNC a good fight this week?
I think you have to. I think one thing that Brent Key said yesterday that I thought was interesting is he was saying how, yesterday's practice was they finished with what they call good on good when the starters go against starters, and it went really well apparently. It was energetic, and I think they've obviously been through a lot. All that was happening with Jeff Sims being apart from the team now, and you lose Zach Pyron. I think there's certainly it'd be understandable if there's kind of a loss of energy, a lack of energy. But it sounds like one thing that I think this team has done, really with Brent in charge, is they've played hard, and so they'll definitely need that against North Carolina on Saturday.
Let's talk about that quarterback situation for Georgia Tech. Jeff Sims out medically, like you mentioned. Then you also lose Zach Pyron to a broken collarbone, and he had shown some promise. Where does that leave them with quarterback moving forward?
Right. Well, yeah, it's not in a great place. Obviously, they'll go with Zach Gibson, who has not, who's been in 3 games. I think he has not done super well. He's had some moments, but certainly on the whole has had some trouble. And then it wouldn't surprise me if Tyson Pumachan, who's a transfer from Clemson, if he got in, particularly obviously if Zach isn't able to move the ball well. So yeah, you're down to your number 3 and number 4 quarterbacks and against the number, I think, 13 team in the country, or 15 team in the country. So it's going to be obviously a very big challenge for them.
Let's talk about UNC's quarterback situation, which is kind of a stark contrast. UNC's 9-1, and Drake Maye is a big reason why. He's gotten some Heisman buzz, 34-3 touchdown interception ratio. He's good. He's on his feet. He's pretty mobile too. What kind of challenge is Georgia Tech up against this guy, and what do you do to try and limit someone like that?
Obviously a very big one. I think he was compared favorably. Someone was comparing him to Trevor Lawrence, which obviously kind of speaks for itself. Trevor Lawrence has done okay against Georgia Tech. Obviously a very different team, but so yeah, I think one thing that Tech has done well is get turnovers, and I think in this game as much as any, where you kind of figure they're going to get their yards and points. If you can just to have a chance, you need to steal some possessions and maybe flip the field and do that sort of thing. They were unsuccessful against Miami. I think Miami is very attuned, very well prepared for Georgia Tech to be able to trying to strip fumbles and so forth. So, and I'm sure North Carolina will as well. But you would think that's kind of where they're going to have to make their stand against this team.
Kind of a big picture question, and obviously Georgia Tech has 2 games left to go. So I'm not trying to evaluate Brent Key in totality yet, but interim head coach, how have you seen him affect this program so far?
I think ultimately you look at the record. It's funny. They won the first 2 games, and you're thinking, oh, maybe they can go to a bowl game, and things are looking up. I guess they're 3-3 since. I guess it is. So yeah, from that perspective, they've done about as well as you could hope, but certainly fairly well. But I think the other things you see, the things we talked about, just playing hard. I think there's maybe more of a plan. I think it was interesting. He was talking yesterday just about kind of trying to play all 3 phases, and if you're losing yards here, you got to make up for them somewhere else. So I think, like I think I've said before, it's very clear he has a plan, and I think a vision, and I think he's leading the staff well. So I think he's done about as well as he could hope in this situation. Obviously the Virginia game, and to a lesser extent the Miami game, are ones I'm sure they'd like to have back. But yeah, it's considering where things were and where they are now. I think where you feel like in most games they got a shot. I think he's done a really nice job, I think.
You were at that Miami game. What does Georgia Tech need to clean up from that game moving forward?
Well, one thing, and this is interesting because, as you said, Drake Maye can run as well as pass. One thing that what happened was that their quarterback, Ja'Cory Brown, did a really nice job running the ball, and that was something they were anticipating but had some trouble with. And so, obviously when you got, I think one thing, that is the case with a running quarterback, is that you don't have the 10 and 11 advantage. So that's one thing where they have to be careful of. They obviously had to move the ball as well as you'd want to. They got behind early, and so I don't know quite how. Like maybe we might see something kind of different scheme wise, or they may mess with the tempo from what they've done or something. But yeah, just even special teams, you know, could have been better. They didn't get a punt blocked, and they didn't have a Miami didn't return the ball much at all, but they also didn't punt the ball as well as they could either. So there's, for better or worse, a lot of areas where they get better if they, you know, and I think, as I said, you know, for them to have a chance against North Carolina, they got to be playing as well as they can.
Ken, thank you so much for joining me. Thanks to all of you for watching. Make sure you go to ajc.com or subscribe to our YouTube channel to find more videos just like this one.